Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of SHENZHEN I. I haven't finished rendering that last episode, but I did look at how large the raw recording file is, and it was pretty dang big, so I think last episode was pretty long. Sorry I didn't ever find a convenient time to split it up. Still puzzles me that my power usage is so much higher and my lines of code so much lower. I didn't think it was that much more expensive to do the stuff I did, and I'm not sure how I could have used more lines of code. I ran out of space for code in the ordinary sized production cost, so I don't know. Anyway, what is this? An airline cocktail mixer. I was inspired by flight design recently. Most of the drinking options were whatever the flight attendant could throw together. Just a mixer and a small selection of liquors. A drink mixing device could be made in an easily portable case and could dispense a wide variety of drinks for customers. I did my homework and called several airlines to gauge their interest and reception. To gauge their interest, and reception to the idea was good, so I think we should go ahead and try to develop this product. I've also designed out an initial selection of drink ingredients and mixes, which I've sent along. In the meantime, while the engineering effort moves forward, I will create the marketing and rollout plan. Who are you and what have you done with Joe? He certainly has matured, I suppose. Alright, so let's look at what we gotta do. Keypad is an XBus input connected to a keypad. Vodka, gin, lemon, lime, cranberry, and vermouth are simple outputs, 6 of them, connected to mechanisms that dispense those ingredients at a rate of 0.5 ounces per time unit. When a value is available from the keypad, read it and assemble the corresponding cocktail recipe from the Elegant Bachelor. And there's 7 of these things. These are the 7 7 different cocktails we'll need to be able to make. Yikes. Okay. Bachelor. Oh, let me start a timer now before I forget, just so I know how long this episode has been going. So I remember to stop when it gets outrageously long, as I suspect that it will. Stopwatch? Is this one? Go? Yeah, alright. Fine. So, here's the Elegant Bachelor. It is a given that the Elegant Bachelor will have a wet bar for entertaining friends, or that, yeah, okay, so we don't have to read all that junk. So we have We have 7 different cocktails to make, and 6 ingredients, right? And each cocktail has some amount of various ingredients, up to 3. So one thing we could do is 7 times 6. 7 times 6 is 42, right? And 42 is exactly what you can fit on 3 ROM chips. Just saying, that's an interesting little tidbit. We could store a mapping for every single recipe and every single ingredient, how much of that ingredient the recipe calls for. And then when we get a number, go look up the appropriate things. But it's not even clear how we would handle, the size of a single ROM is not divisible by 3, or by 6, of course. So the mix sizes for a single cocktail would be spread over multiple ROMs, or at least for some of them it would be. So it would be quite difficult to read things in. Maybe we could somehow, video's done rendering, guys. I forgot you're watching the whole screen. Whatever, who cares? Maybe like we could have one control, but like you can't have one controller connect to 6 or to 3 ROM chips and connect to anything else. Like we just don't have that much I/O. So that doesn't seem like a killer option. How else could we store this exactly? Maybe ROM is the wrong approach. Like, how much code would it be to implement a single one of these? Basically, that is a function of how many differently sized ingredients there are. Because we would have to write a correct value. Like, let's say we want to just implement this in code. Let's say I wanted to make a Cosmopolitan, and that's all I really cared about. What would I do? Well, I would wire these up, and I would have a chip that looked, let's say, like this, whatever, that hooked up into both of these. Well, didn't really need to connect the middle one, but who cares? And I would say, move, click, 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 click. The reason I'm doing this is I want to see how much code it takes us to implement one of them. And if it's a small enough number, maybe we'll just do all of these in microcontrollers rather than trying to figure out some clever way to use ROM. So Cosmopolitan looks like the most complicated drink. It has 3 ingredients and 2 differently sized ingredients, but I think it's basically the same as all the others, except for the vodka shot, which is real easy. And probably the Cape Cod is equally easy. So we want to make vodka, lime, and cranberry in the first go. So that's a 100 to x3, move lime and cranberry, that's 110 to x2, sleep for 1, and then move a 0 to x2, sleep 1, and then we would be done, right? So it takes 5 or 6-ish instructions to make a drink if you know exactly what drink you want to make, and you hard code that into a controller. There's going to be some additional overhead involved in like detecting which drink it is we want to make, I presume. Let's look at this. So we just get one number over X bus, and then when we do, we'll dispatch it to the appropriate place, I guess. I mean, it seems like this might be a manageable approach. Use 3-ish of these large chips connected to these, each responsible for whatever particular drink. And then one more chip controller that's responsible for forwarding this to the appropriate chip, or perhaps just broadcasting it to all of them. And then it would be nice if this chip could also zero out the outputs when they're done. Although I guess he can't really, because he doesn't know how long it took to finish making the drink. Oh, I forgot. It's per half ounce, so we would actually be sleeping for 2 and 2, but whatever. You know, same deal, of course. Same amount of time. The wiring could be a little tricky, but I think it's probably not that bad. And I think 3 big chips should handle most stuff. Yeah. So let's copy this code for the vodka, whatever it is, the Cosmopolitan. Throw this chip away and start grabbing some bigger ones and see how many of them we can wire up comfortably. It seems like it should be a pretty large number, right? We kind of need just, this goes here. We need a bit of space for bridges, though, I think. Actually, we only need 1 bridge, I think, because they can sort of join up with each other. I don't know. Let's put it close, and then it'll be easy to move it further out if that turns out to be important. And we will connect this up to here. Now we can fit another one pretty comfortably, like this, which will, let's just connect it like that. And here's where we would need a bridge, right? Except we can't. So let's just back this off a bit more. It's not, because I want to be able to get, oh no. I was thinking I wanted to get another wire from this guy in to control these, but that doesn't actually help because, as I said, he doesn't know when to shut these guys off. I suppose he could just do it every cycle before they get around to their other thing, but I don't think he can do that fast enough, and it's not much point. We'll just have each of these have 2 move zeros at the end of their whole thing. That'll probably be okay. I'm hopeful we only need 3 of these. Each one storing like 2 complicated recipes, and like one of them storing a vodka shot, which is simple enough. In addition to that, like maybe put the vodka shot and the Cape Cod on the same one, since they're both like super simple. And then maybe that one could squeeze 3 instead of 2 recipes. That's the plan anyway. If we end up needing 4, I'll be a little sad. Okay, so let's put this guy back here. There we go. This X2 is the one that's supposed to... Right, so the problem is that there won't be a way for the 3rd chip to get connected up to this, right, basically? How do I need to move things around so that that is not a problem? Does it help to put a bridge here? It seems like that makes the problem worse. It doesn't seem to do anything meaningful either way, I guess. Scoot this over a bunch. Not sure where this is going. Maybe don't connect its X2? I don't know, X2 seems like the one that is most conveniently positioned, right? It's not in the way of anything, and it doesn't really matter where else it is. Actually, maybe the thing to do is to come out on this side, not through the middle here at all. Just come out basically like this, bridging here. Not there, please. And then like so. Actually, I think it is is a bit better this way, right? Like that. And then our third chip located here can basically connect one of his ports to here. Oops, back up, I guess. Shoot. The problem is we can't now get a wire into this guy telling him to go. We need one wire from here that connects to a port on all three of these guys. Doesn't have to be the same wire, but it seems like that would be the easiest thing to do. Maybe they're... Maybe I could sort of daisy chain them so they each talk to each other. Like, if this guy says, oh, I know how to make the drink, he won't wake up the other two. But if he doesn't know how to make the drink, he'll pass it on to the next one in the chain. Maybe that's better. The wiring for them is still a little bit complicated, but it's not as bad, I think. Maybe it's just fine and I'm like over worried about stuff. I don't know. Let's see. We have a wire connecting to this bit, so we just need a wire connecting to this bit, which we can do relatively easily, like so. Right, so now each of these has a connection to each of these. And now it would be nice if there were either a connection from here to each of these, or a connection from an additional connection from each of these to each of the others. And I think we have enough vertical space to work with here that we could squeeze in two bridges, and maybe that's enough to get this connected down to here without crossing any of the existing wires. Except, well, let's see. Yeah, we'll have to squeeze everything over by a bit because we, no, we could get to this port, right? That's probably okay. So, all right, let's go for the moment with this daisy chain model. And in fact, if we have daisy chaining, we don't need an extra chip here at all. We can just connect this guy up directly and pretend he's in this. Basically, this guy is like an X-Bus in like one of these who never knows how to make the drink and always just forwards it along. So that's sort of a nice bit of regularity, isn't it? So this connects up here. And then we need this guy to be able to talk to this guy. And we're sort of out of ways to get here, aren't we? because I can't just use the same wire for both. Like, if this port were an X-Bus port and this port were the simple I/O, it would be pretty easy. We would just bloop, drop down in here, right? But now if I do this, oh, that's allowed? No, port connected itself. Even though they're not the right kind of thing, they can't ever talk to each other. You just aren't allowed to wire them up that way. I guess there would be a pin type mismatch if you were allowed to. Okay. So, does it help any to have a designated controller here who sends the same message 3 times and have them each independently leap into action rather than this daisy chaining approach? It simplifies things the tiniest bit because you no longer need to have designated input ports versus output ports, I think. You sort of have the problem that, like, let's say I could manage somehow by magic to get this wire to match up to down here. There'd still be the problem that when you send a message from this guy, he goes back to sleep, let's say, and like when this guy wakes up to send a message, he puts it onto the bus, and like this guy will wake up and handle it. He says, I don't know what to do, and he'll send it back to this guy. And he'll say, I don't know what to do. And this guy who does know what to do, like, he never gets a chance to read the message. Seems like a problem that could happen. God, I hate these wiring puzzles. They're the worst. And maybe I've just made it a wiring puzzle myself. Right, maybe it was actually a real algorithmic problem that I'm solving by throwing money at it, which would be a little disappointing. I'm not sure how I can get this guy's last X-Bus port to talk to this guy at all. And this guy's out of X-Bus ports, so he can't do it. We could scoot a bit more to the left if that would help, but I don't really see how it would. Okay, so maybe it's time to rethink and consider trying to do this with ROM instead. But I'm not sure, like, how you structure that information. Right? Like, it's hard to encode this recipe book into some number of ROM chips and then write an interpreter, which is basically what we would be doing. Because if we just wrote it down in the way that it's written, if we basically like tried to transcribe it and said, like, for each of the 6 instructions, here's how long to turn on that spout, that's like real hard. To interpret, because like, how long do you leave on the stuff? It's like, I don't know, you have to. you have to know what time unit you're currently at and figure out what time unit the next phase transition is happening. And you also have to know, like, which ROM units the various bits are in, because they're going to be spread across multiple ROM units for each recipe, for a given recipe, I should say. So is there some more compact or more easily digestible information format we could translate this into? We could make each recipe book somehow like a set of instructions, maybe. Like, turn on, like, maybe the recipe for vodka is basically turn on vodka, sleep 3, turn off vodka, or something. But writing an interpreter for that language is just like, that's what these are, right? These guys are already great at handling instructions exactly like that. So we would just be sort of adding a layer of really confusing indirection if we tried to encode that in ROM instead of into these guys. The advantage we would get would be what? Nothing, right? Because you can only store 14 bits, 14 numbers in ROM anyway, which is exactly how many numbers you can store on how many instructions you can store on these microcontrollers. So that seems like way better to just use these. I guess what we would be gaining is we'd have maybe fewer wires running around? I don't think so. Can't believe that, like, the inability to run a wire from here to here is what is governing my, like, being real sad about this situation. What if we moved this chip, like, really far over to the left? It's got a lot of space, right? Maybe that's all it takes. It gives us space for some more bridges here. Yeah, let's try that. So like that, basically. This one is going here still. We need this. Kind of has to come down this way. And we need to connect this to one of the wires. It doesn't really matter which, right? This guy needs to connect to 3 wires somehow, all 3 of these, and it doesn't matter how. So maybe the thing to do is to drive one down here, and then that's getting him onto this wire, basically. Drive another one here. That gets him onto this wire. And then last, just get him in here, which... I'm not sure exactly the right way to do. Does this help or hurt? Well, wait a minute. No, never mind. That's dumb. I was noticing this, like, X0, like, it's real easy to connect it up to here, right? But, I don't see how that helps, exactly. Well, actually, maybe if what we did is disconnect that there, and sort of connect it up this way. Or, I guess kind of like this, and also move this guy up. Then we can sort of bridge across this into here. Oop, stop, undo. Right, put a bridge here to let us get into there. And a bridge here. And that gives us a way to connect this up to there, right? So I think at this stage, everyone has all the connections I wanted them to have, although it's, you know, not a neat chip, or a neat board, I guess. Let's just confirm that the connections all line up the way I wanted. This input on the keypad goes to here. This guy decides whether he wants to make the drink. If so, he sends messages to this wire and this wire, which get sent to these guys. Otherwise, he forwards it along this wire to here. This guy decides whether to make a drink, forwarding to one of these two. Otherwise, he passes it. No, wait. Where does this line go? This is the line to one of the outputs. This is the line to an output, and this is the line to the final chip. Finally, this guy is connected over these two lines to all the outputs. Okay, well, that was exciting. I really hope that we can fit the instructions that we need onto each of these chips. If we can't, it's going to be a bummer. So, at any rate, it's straightforward to write all of this. So let's try and do the hardest thing first, which I think is the one with the vodka shot and the Cape Cod. Actually, there's something that was bothering me just then, and I realized it's not going to be an issue. I was thinking it's going to be a little bit hard to tell whether we need to forward along the drink instructions. But we don't have to do that. We can just forward them on regardless. So we will, in each cycle, every time we get a new drink input, right, we will maybe make the drink and definitely forward the instructions on to the next guy. And the next guy will wake up and say, I don't know how to make this fucking drink. And then he'll just go back to sleep, and that's fine, right? It doesn't matter. We'll waste power, but it'll be fine. So, all right, so let's sleep X on X1, our input. Move X1 into ACK. And now we need to test what kind of drink it is. So first, test equal ACK to vodka shot. That's the first one we want to do. 1. If so, we move. Where is vodka? It's here. That's 100 onto X2. 100 onto X2, please. And sleep for 3. And that's it. Now say, is it equal to the Cape Cod, I think, is the other easy one? Yes. ACK 4, if so, how do you make a Cape Cod? Vodka and cranberry, those are on different wires, okay. Move 100 to X2, move, I'm really brute forcing this, move, whoa, I just realized something a little bit interesting. We maybe can just sort of, no, never mind. I was thinking we could avoid testing whether, like, is it vodka here? and just sort of set the pins for vodka, and then like maybe you forward along a message and that causes the other guys to wake up and then rewrite over the vodka pins. But that's incorrect because we're sleeping, and that would be a disaster. It would be a disaster to set it for vodka and then sleep if it's not actually vodka that we want, right? Okay, so move cranberry is 10. What did I do? Undo. Move 10 onto, I think it's X3 going over there? Yes. And sleep for 4. I don't think I'm going to fit another drink and all the cleanup instructions on here. Are there any other easy drinks? Like, no, right? Maybe there's one, at least, that only involves writing to one of the 2 branches of outputs. So, like, vodka, gin, and lemon are on the top. Is there anything that uses only vodka, gin, and... Yeah, so a lemon drop might be not as bad, right? Because it won't involve touching this guy at all. Maybe that's okay. So test equal ACK for 2. If so, we need to... Man, all of these involve vodka. Huh. So maybe we can simplify this a little bit by moving 100, like testing if it's any one of these 5 drinks, and if so, turning on the vodka, and otherwise turn on gin, I guess? Like, that's a mutually exclusive thing going on there that's kind of nice. But the problem is, you still need, well... Well, all right. Here's a way we can save a little bit of space, right? We're gonna have 2 drinks moving 100 to vodka, right? And maybe a third if we did like the vodka and vermouth. So what we could do is take that instruction that was like conditionalized on in each of these branches, and just sort of uniformly do it for all of them. And if it turns out that it's wrong and we don't want to output vodka, we'll let one of these other guys correct us and write something else up there. So that's a way to save 2 bytes, which is pretty good. 2 lines, of course, really, not bytes. And so the other one that's easy to do then is the vodka and vermouth, because it doesn't involve changing what we wrote up to here. It just involves one more write. Okay, I guess. Move 1 onto X3. Sleep 2, move 0 to X3. Sleep 4. There's no room to zero it out. We have just enough room now to forward the drink instruction on. But no room to turn off. Well, actually, maybe this guy doesn't need to be responsible for turning them off. Let's at this point say, all right, move Ak onto the next guy in the drink mixing chain, X0, right? At this point, when this guy receives a message, he knows that the vodka line will be on, and maybe one of these lines will be on, right? And if he doesn't need to make a drink, he can maybe turn one of these off. Right, it would be ideal if he could just turn them both off as soon as he receives a message. Ideal in the sense that, like, if we had unlimited lines of code, that would be kind of a convenient way to do things. And then we could turn on whichever ones we actually need to. But maybe, see, when he gets a message, it might be because this guy is done making his drink and needs the taps turned off for him. Or it might be because the taps were never on at all and he needs to make a drink. But, yeah, so maybe this is fine. There's nothing with more than 2 different ingredient sizes. So what are 2 things that are easy for this guy to cope with? He knows for sure that the vodka will be on when he gets a message. Right? That's kind of cool. So he doesn't have to do that. So maybe the vodka martini would be an easy one for him to make. Not the lemon drop, since he would have to overwrite the vodka anyway, sort of wasting the instruction there. Yeah. I guess we should start thinking about what lines he's going to leave on for the next guy. Right? Maybe we can have... Since we've sort of discovered the secret of leaving lines on, maybe we can make use of that on purpose for the next one. The gin is going to need to always be turned on for the other dude. Gin, lime, and vermouth. Are those all 3 down here? No, lime and vermouth are down here. So that's interesting. These 2 drinks are very, very similar. And they're right next to each other, so the last guy can make both of these recipes pretty easily, I think. Put down that cocktail! I didn't notice last time that message came up. That's the handbrake message saying that you're done encoding a video, and how nice, we're making cocktails. Actually, probably the first time it's been apropos ever, in the hundreds of videos that I have recorded. Yeah, so the third guy could be the one who makes these 2 drinks, and that's really easy for him. Especially if we can arrange to leave the gin line on, although I don't think there's any real need to. Okay, so let's try to make the lemon drop and the vodka martini together. And that's easy too, sort of. I guess not. Alright, let's try doing that, though. We know the vodka line is on, so we don't have to touch it when we're making the vodka martini. So we're going to check whether it's 2, a lemon drop? Oh, we already tested 2 here? Really? Move 1 to X3. And what is 1 on X3? X3 goes here. 1 turns on the vermouth? Why are we turning on a vermouth for a lemon drop? What the hell was I trying to make? So I checked 4. First I checked whether it was 1, and then we just did the obvious vodka shot here. Then I test whether it's 4, a Cape Cod, the thing I decided was easy to do. I left the vodka on, turned on the cranberry, slept, and then I check whether it's 2, and I move a 1 to x3, but that turns off the vodka. No, wait. A 1 to x3 turns on vermouth. Nobody wants vodka and vermouth. Oh, they do. It's a vodka martini that I'm making here. Alright, so this should be 5, not 2. Okay, that's how we made a vodka martini. Fine. Vodka and vermouth. Okay. So let's have this guy handle, we decided lemon drop and Cosmopolitan, I think? Oh, interesting though. The vodka martini and the Cosmopolitan and the lemon drop are also very similar, but I guess they're similar in terms of like the timing that they have. All right, I'm not sure. Let's just try to make the lemon drop and the Cosmopolitan in this guy and see how that goes. We know the vodka's already on. Oh, geez, I just realized I should check the see how we're supposed to dispense this. We dispense for 4 the vodka and the cranberry at the same time as fast as possible. So this is in like the way that seems obvious, I guess. So vodka and vermouth, we get a 5. Yeah, okay, so it is the way that seemed obvious to me, but I should have checked. Which is that we first we output as much stuff as we can. And then as we start hitting the points where we want to, when we have enough of an ingredient, we turn it off. Rather than like leaving as few ingredients on at the beginning and then as possible, and then turning them on as soon as it becomes necessary. Okay, well, you know what? We didn't get a lot of code written this episode, but it took a long time. I think now is a good time to break the episode up. If it turns out that like I do this like just wham bam, everything works out perfectly, maybe the next episode is going to be super short, but I think I need to plan for everything taking forever. So I'm going to cut this episode here, and in the next episode we'll implement the remaining cocktails and hopefully it'll all work out. I don't know. So, wish me luck. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.